So as you all probably know, NASCAR's COT Car of Tomorrow for the Cup Series debuted in 2007 at Bristol, which was race 5 of the season. Of course, that was the odd year where they were running both the Gen 4 car and the new COT in the exact same season, switching between the two of them all year long. Of course, this is one of the most controversial cars in NASCAR history, maybe just behind the next-gen car at this point. That first race was after a long journey of testing, building the race cars over the last couple of years from NASCAR. And that's what we're going to be kind of focusing on today, because if you go back to the old testing, the old test cars look pretty interesting and very weird, and most of them we really never even saw hit the racetrack for an actual race, and they were just for testing. Now, I'm sure at least some of you have seen maybe some of these pictures or maybe some of their test footage or test images of the COT car from over in 2006, but you probably never looked too deep into it and saw these different kind of weird-looking cars that were on the racetrack testing that never actually hit the track for an actual race that you're going to see in today's video. Now, this first thing I want to look at isn't actually from testing on track, but this is apparently the first ever photo of a COT taken back in 2005 when they were in the very early developments of the car. I believe this is the first ever car they ever made for the COT. There's no manufacturer decals. It looks like just kind of a plain basic generic COT car that NASCAR made, which we'll see more of in this video in a minute, along with some other weird manufacturer things. So it is kind of an odd looking race car. It was actually pretty cool for me to find the first ever picture of this generation of race car that's around. Now, the first ever COT test was taken late in 2005. It was the only one of 2005. This isn't a picture from that test. There aren't actually any that are available, I don't believe. Of course, that was at Atlanta Motor Speedway. This is just another Atlanta test that they did in 2006. But you can see a little bit of what I'm talking about with the odd-looking race cars. The Monte Carlos don't exactly look right, which I'll get to in a minute. But I want to get to this thing first, which honestly looks like a Dodge Avenger. It's most similar to that, but I believe this is NASCAR's just generic test car. It was one of the first COTs with actual headlight and grille decals on it. Again, like I said, it looks like a Dodge, and in my opinion, it looks really cool. I love the look of this thing. Again, I'm not exactly sure if they worked with Dodge to make this thing up. The Dodge Avenger wasn't really released to the public yet, but maybe they did. Who knows? If you have any info on that, I couldn't find any. Make sure to leave it in the comments down below. Now, this just generic test car kind of reminds me of our current next-gen car when it was just a generic race car that NASCAR made up. No manufacturer decals or anything like that. This one looks pretty horrible in my opinion. I'm happy this never saw the light of day outside of testing, but this could be a topic for a different video. Now, last thing about the generic car, here it is at Bristol in 2006 during testing, and my God, does this thing look odd without a grille. Holy, I'm not even sure what to think about this thing. I mean, I guess it looks okay. I don't really know. As promised, now I want to get to this, the Monte Carlo Chevrolet, and you might be thinking to yourself, wait, the Monte Carlo was never a COT, and you're right. They ran the Monte Carlo body from the Gen 4, well, not the exact body, obviously, but the body style from the Gen 4 on a COT, and you can just see how strange this thing looks. Of course, Chevy eventually decided that they're going to run the Impala for their Cup Series cars in 2007, and then onwards for every single race that happened in the COT. But here's the comparison between the two. The Monte Carlo from testing on the left and the Impala that was actually ran on the track for racing on the right. And I'm just going to say it right now, the Monte Carlo, I don't know what it is, looks horrible. It looks disgusting. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's the headlights, maybe it's the grille. Not sure, but the Impala looks pretty decent. I don't know if anyone agrees with me, but man, what a difference. I mean, it doesn't seem like it would be that big of a difference just from the headlights being a little bit of different shape and angle and the grille being a little different, but it looks completely different and completely horrible in my opinion. Thank the good Lord Chevy decided not to run this thing. Now, this is some of the first testing footage that I've seen available with the COT. I believe it was late in 2006 at Bristol Motor Speedway. By this time, the bodies of the cars looked like the ones that hit the track for all manufacturers, but that doesn't change what you're about to see continuing with this video. And with that being said, what am I looking at? My goodness. This is, of course, Dodge's 2006 test car. And by the way, they didn't run the Charger just like Chevy, where Chevy, of course, tested with the Monte Carlo on the COT, never ran it, and ended up running the Impala instead for real racing. Dodge, of course, tested with a Charger, and then for 2007, they elected to go with the new Dodge Avenger, like I mentioned earlier. Now, looking at this thing now, it just doesn't look right. Of course, the headlight decals, I don't know what's going on there. They look completely out of place. I don't know what kind of body this is. It looks like maybe it's from a Chevy or something. And then the Charger grille looks kind of strange as well. Overall, it just doesn't look like the decals fit the body. I mean, this honestly, if you take the decals off, I probably would think it was a Chevy, which is kind of strange, but yeah, this thing looks, again, absolutely disgusting in my opinion. Dodge, though, actually would run the Charger in 2008 and beyond, all the way until 2012. For some reason, getting rid of the Avenger, which in my opinion looked a little bit better than this. But this thing looks a lot better and a lot more in place than what you saw from the test car. Dodge eventually updated their body for, I believe, 2011, if I'm not mistaken, maybe 2010, to look like the Charger that won the 2012 title with Brad Keselowski. Even with Dodge and Chevy making two of the ugliest stock cars I've ever seen test before or even run on a racetrack, Ford and Toyota, thank God, didn't do that. I don't believe, at least for Ford, of course. You can see they never really put decals on their test cars, as you see here with Carl Edwards' car, which is a good thing in my opinion. Now, Toyota would also run no decals on the car from time to time, which again looked a little bit weird, but not as weird as the Dodges and the Chevys. My goodness, that's a lot of sponsors in the car for Michael Waltrip Racing. I sure hope all that money they got from these big sponsorships really help them dig out of any sort of scandal trouble they might have gotten themselves into, so they don't ever have to close their doors and they can live on for many, many more decades. This is the Toyota with all its decals on, and as you can see, it looks pretty similar and maybe not at all different than what you saw run on the racetrack in 2007 with their 2006 testing car here. Now, for the last thing in this video, I'm going to be showing some of the other testing clips of early NASCAR COT stuff, not all going to be weird looking race cars, just from the 2006 testing, so enjoy.